flag.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the board wants to provide ample opportunity for public comment on matters that come before us. Your input is important. If you wish to address an item already on the agenda, we ask that you do so when that item comes up for discussion. If you have a comment on a matter not on the agenda, this is the time during our meeting for such comments. The board would like to remind everyone in attendance that to avoid violations of individual rights of privacy, a member of the public wishing to address the board during this time will not be allowed to make comments about any student, staff member, or member of the general public during this time. Does anyone wish to speak at this time?
I do. My name is Nancy Marks. I am the reporter for the newspaper Montana 43 News, and I am here to cover school board business. I would like to say that one of the complaints that we have had in the last 12 months is that there's never enough news about the school. Not enough on sports, not enough about what's going on with the new building, not enough about what the school board's doing. So I'm here to hopefully change that. But I need, number one, a contact that I can contact on a regular basis. Who would that person be?
Probably gets to be me.
Okay. And your phone number?
406-949-4851.
4851?
Yep.
Very good, thank you, Jason. Some of the things that we would like to see put in, we ran a story on the sports last week. We'd like to put in the school bus schedule. Is the school bus schedule ready?
We're working on that tonight.
Okay. Well, our deadline is not until Tuesday next. Is today Tuesday? Yeah, so it'll be a week. Noon on Tuesday. But we would really like to have more stories like, how much money have you guys spent on the new building? Is it all gone? Have we got a bunch left over? That would be a story that I would like to cover. Where are you at your end? Are we about done? Are we not done? It looked like from the meeting minutes that there were several things that weren't finished. That's the kind of story I would like to cover for the public. And so would I still talk to you, Jason, about that?
You bet. And actually, each meeting we have, our project managers are here and they give the board an update each meeting.
Okay.
So you will gain a lot of that information when we give them their time.
Okay.
But yes, I've also been, a big part of, going into the weekly meetings with the owners and the architect and the contractors
Okay.
to try and make sure that, we have pretty up-to-date information for the
Okay.
board.
That sounds good. Are there other things that the board would like to have me cover?
I would agree with your general statement that the public just needs more information on all of the things. We've done a lot of work recently on curriculum and those types of things that, do affect. We're doing a major policy kind of overhaul with our partners at the Montana School Boards Association, going through making sure that all of our policies are up to date and applicable to what we're doing currently in the school. So we're kind of right in the middle of that process, but here pretty quick that will be done and it will be updated on the school website or access to it from the school website. So it's more readily available to students, parents, and the public. Those are kind of some of the highlights, but yeah, the building construction's kind of been the focus here for about the last 2 years, but still trying to make sure we take care of all the other necessary business as well.
Sure.
I'd like to add, we're looking at, we've talked about getting the strategic planning going again. We'll invite the community in to take a look, take a 5-year outlook on where the school's going. And a lot of things we've accomplished through the board here over the last several years have been through that process and getting people in here and getting their input. So that's
Very good. I think people are interested in, I would like to do a story on where you are with your safety strategies.
Actually, yeah, that Susie and Christina Hartman are actually at a big safety conference. That's why they're not here tonight. They're joining us on the computer.
Okay,
So we're kind of in the midst of revamping our safety protocol and that policy, but they're actually at a conference right now that's dedicated to that.
very good. I will try, since you only meet once a month.
That's what we try to. We seem to have a lot of special meetings lately,
Okay.
trying to
Well,
get everything done.
If Ms. Sangre will let me know, then I'll come to the special meetings, but I'm just gonna plan on once a month and then try to fill that in with some stories for your page, because you're gonna have a whole page.
That's good.
One of the things that we want to put on is an update on your school calendar.
Okay.
We would like to run like August, September, October school calendar, run it once a month at least, or once every other week. So people know, because we're not on your mailing list. We don't have children in school. So we would like to know that information.
No, that's great. We've had a lot of discussion over the last several years on trying to find ways to better communicate, with the community, because not everybody does Facebook, but not everybody reads the newspaper, and trying to find that mix of how we do get to everybody one way or the other.
Sure. Well, we do have a Facebook page and a website, and of course the hard paper, which so many people seem to want.
Yep.
So if there are no other questions, I'll sit down.
Well, I was just going to add really quickly, I would hope that you add on to each of your articles within the paper too, our Facebook page and our website here at the school, as well as any contact information and the links to those contact information as well. So a lot of that information that you're speaking to has been out there. There's just a kind of a disconnect. So, so we just need to kind of connect.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're trying to do, is make some continuity. And it'll take me a while to get up to speed, because I don't know all the things you're doing. So if I trip, just pick me up and help me along, okay?
Will do. We appreciate you coming and appreciate you telling us what's happening.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. I don't believe, Susie, if you can hear me, if we have any other correspondence or recognition that we need to take care of.
I do not.
Okay. So we'll move into the discussion items. Shane and Rich talk about our various building projects.
You bet. The elementary school is on schedule. I know last time we talked about, we were worried about a couple of panels. They actually did come in, thank goodness. The sub panels, that's not our main panels. They'll be switched out when the main panel comes in. But we did get those. We'll have our lights, our elevator will work. Running right down to the wire, which we knew we were gonna on the egress out the set of stairs on the backside going out to the playground. We're gonna make it. It looks like it's gonna be right on time. We have allowed, the teachers can come in and set their rooms up, but the building cannot be occupied right now. But Doug worked with the local inspector, and we're fine with that. We just can't occupy the building, so the teachers can't come in with all their kids, and people just can't be running around the building. But the teachers do have access to be able to set their rooms up and get everything ready to go. Middle school is going to be right down to the wire as well, which we already knew that. Mechanically, we're waiting for air handler, supposedly going to show up this later this week.
They shipped on Thursday, and we got tracking numbers, so we expect them.
Which at least I guess we actually have units, which is better than a lot of other projects. But it's still going to be right down to the wire. You can see all the sidewalks out here. That's going to be done Friday. So what I talked with Susie about is we're going to keep the library closed until Tuesday, and that's going to allow all this to get. You can see they're all formed, ready to pour. So by Friday, we're hoping to have all this poured out, and then access to open the library back up on Tuesday of next week. The mechanical system, we do have, and this will on Rich's side, but they did get the Jace unit set back up in the high school, so now we can actually control all the equipment in the high school. We have a bad wire coming over to the library, so they're gonna rerun wire. Hopefully we'll have the library back up on controls this week. From an IT perspective, Joe has got everything lined up except for on the contractor's end. They had ordered their fiber optic, they said over a year ago, they still don't have it. Supposedly it was supposed to come in this week, working with Joe. Joe called one of his contacts. Sounds like we might be able to source it if they can't. So in time to be able to still get it in place so Pine Cove can come make all your connections. It's about 500 feet of 12 strand fiber that we're trying to find. But hopefully we've got that figured out, and we'll know more tomorrow morning. And for the high school, I'll let Rich go over the high schools they have on that.
Yeah, so on the high school HVAC project, we've got the classrooms that are gonna get the unit ventilators, have all the plumbing work done. We ran new 1-inch supply and return lines on that heating system. All that work is done. The cabinets are going back in, up against the wall. And those unit ventilators are scheduled to ship at the beginning of September. But the classrooms will be ready for school. We'll have the ability to provide some heat with the old air handler. We haven't taken that out yet. And when those unit ventilators hit the ground, we'll just need to work out a schedule and slide them in around when the students are there. So we'll make that work. The big makeup air handler unit in the gym is arrived last week, and they've already got it all up in the room. So I got the old one demoed, and it's in place, so they'll be installing that. And so that was a big move, because that was a took some ingenuity on to get those big pieces up there and through the door. Our dampers for the main gym are coming in the end of this week, so we'll get those done. We have most of the work done in the welding shop and the woodworking shop, with the exception of some venting tube and the electrical boxes that are coming in the beginning of this September. We've already communicated to Clint that he won't be able to have the power for the additional welders that first couple weeks of school. But basically, we're getting everything done that we can. Trout Canyon's done a really good job. They sent 5 extra people last week, because they got a lot of work to do, right? They got the middle school, they got all of that high school work, and in addition, they're doing the rough-in for that connector piece. But it's been a great effort by everybody, and we'll be ready for school, and we'll have a few loose ends to tie up as the long lead time equipment comes in. If there's any questions or anything, I'd be happy to address that.
I was going to follow up on the tech stuff just a little bit. So when is our drop dead tech deadline? When would you consider that? What day?
I would say it's more, once we have the infrastructure in, it's gonna be a Pine Cove issue, right?
Yes.
Is the way I understand it.
Yes, that's correct.
So if Pine Cove's coming on Monday, I would assume
Monday's
Monday's
Yeah.
the drop dead
The
date.
So
The goal is to have it before the teachers do their 2 PIR days.
Correct.
and that's the 17th?
17th and 18th.
That's the 18th. So that's kind of that drop
Right.
dead deadline. So the fiber then is supposed to, that's a major hole. So the fiber is supposed to, you're gonna know something tomorrow?
Well, we were told that it was supposed to be here last week, did not show up. They said they'd ordered, we checked on when it was ordered. They said they ordered it over a year ago. They haven't got it in. So we started sourcing between Joe and myself. We were calling other entities to say, okay, we've got to find some 12 strand fiber in case Connect does not get their fiber in, that at least we can get the fiber connection for Pine Cove to be able to make, whatever you you guys.
And that'll happen because we only have like a week.
Yep.
But I completely agree.
Okay, and so, and you'll be able to grab that then,
We're hoping
to?
yeah, it's pretty. Montana Internet said they actually have the fiber. They're not the sub.
Okay,
So what we would have to do is circumvent the contractor,
I see.
purchase that from Montana Internet, bring it in and have that sub, put that fiber in. So but that's gonna be our only fix if they don't get their fiber in, right? So if Connect doesn't have their fiber, we're trying to source it for them.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to.
Yeah, so a couple more quick questions. Temporarily, is a wireless bridge consideration?
Initially it was, Sean.
But it's not.
But we didn't order equipment just because we thought we were gonna be able to get that connection in.
Okay,
And it's something that I certainly kept on the back of my mind. We have one that, like, worst case scenario, we could hook up and then get another one. And we have a wireless bridge right now that would be capable enough to do that between the Crow's Nest and the high school right now. We would have to set that up, obviously, in a different location. It would take a little bit of time to do, but it's certainly something that could be done.
okay.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah, and that probably is a worst case because of the bandwidth issues, I suspect. Let's see, so with Pine Cove, is it gonna take a 2 or 3 day setup to,
They're scheduled for 3 days, Sean.
Okay.
But they're saying that it should only take them two days. They're sending up 2 guys to get it done.
Okay, 'cause they're
They're installing all the access points and all of our network switches, and making that happen.
because they're piecemealing it and configuring it as well.
Well, kind of. Things have kind of changed since I
Okay.
talked to you last. They were able to source Ruckus equipment. So it's newer equipment than what we have and the same brand of equipment that we're going to have. So we won't have to pay the licensing fees that we had initially thought. And
Okay,
then
okay.
also, we did have one of our new switches arrive today, which was completely kind of out of the blue, but only one. So
And there's two more ordered, or 3?
I don't know the total count off the top of my head, but there were several switches.
Yeah, I was thinking 3, but yeah, okay.
I believe it was more than that.
Yeah, probably so. Okay, I guess that probably answers my questions. You feel confident it'll all go together?
Right? We can get 500 feet.
Of fiber.
Yeah.
That's the whole.
Yeah, okay, and so, okay. Oh, thank you very much, thank you. And again, that's one of those things that if that stuff doesn't work, it makes it pretty hard to do anything,
Absolutely.
including security systems and everything else. Yeah, okay, all right, thank you very much.
Actually, maybe just one quick question. We heard any revised ETA on the coolers for kitchen?
No, they gave us another date that actually pushed it out further.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's exactly what we thought. But just so you know, you're not alone, because it's the exact same thing at 2 other schools we have right now. They gave us delivery dates of June. Next thing we get, it'll be September, and now it doesn't even look like we might get it in September, so.
Sean, it was 20 switches on order.
It was 20 switches,
Yes,
48 ports? Or
I'm
20?
assuming so. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you got one. It's a start.
Yeah, right.
And just so we did order that cooler 18 months ago.
Well, I think the most disconcerting thing about it is instead of saying, well, instead of the beginning of June, it's going to be the end of June, or just kind of going piecemeal, they're leapfrogging like 2-3 months at a shot.
Well, yes, it was supposed to be February originally. They were supposed to deliver them in February, then went to June, then went to September. So, but we're not alone, but I've got this on 2 other facilities right now, the exact same situation. They just keep pushing it out, no guarantees.
Hey, and I
So
just,
how's the school gonna manage food storage?
We have 2 temporaries out there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had to get them for the summer stuff.
Just that's what we're gonna have to keep,
Yeah,
which is really, it's not great because we have to pay for it.
right, but
whatever.
So this question, I apologize, and this question might be for Susie as much as anybody. What's the fallback if we don't have the tech in time for PIR days? Because that's a pretty tight timeframe. Chalkboard?
We plan on doing the tech day in the high school if necessary. Actually, we're planning on probably doing it in the high school anyways, or in the community room, so.
Okay. Just having experienced working with techie stuff, it doesn't always go to plan. So, especially with configs. So.
Right, and I know our awesome tech team, Joe there and Luke, are gonna be helping all the staff, get to know and work out the kinks of the technology in their new classrooms, but especially our new staff, we have some plans for, and we'll make sure that they get some time with our tech team to learn our programs and make sure all their equipment is up and running.
All right, thank you. Thank you all very much.
Our high school entry, is that similar to the new elementary one? A more secure entry?
Yep, they're still working, they were running.
They were running, yeah, they're running all the wire and power and all of that. So I actually we didn't get an update on that today, so I couldn't tell you exactly where that's at, but yes, it's in process.
Vanessa, they will be in a vestibule as well, so you'll walk in the doors, there'll be the second set of doors, as you know. You won't be able to get through without, you have to push a buzzer. There's a camera system, since unlike the elementary, there's a window right there. So there's a camera system that will go to the main office, and those folks will be able to talk to Wanda and she'll buzz them in.
Great.
Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, thank you.
They are HDS. Headed for us.
I believe so.
Right. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, next item is the bus contracting and bid letting. Susie, do you want to
Thanks,
update
guys.
on that? Thanks, guys.
Okay, so we just are I just wanted to make note that we're in that process and it's been being posted in the papers. And we did move the opening of the bid date, and I sent that out to you as a board. I believe that's the 18th. And I've gotten some response on who can help me with that. So we'll do the bid opening that date. I did get that changed. And so we look forward to that and are hoping to have a plan going forward with our bus contracting services. So I have more information just a little bit further down the agenda on bus routes. I'll save that.
Okay. Moving on, minutes and warrants.
Well, I move to approve the minutes and warrants as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes and warrants as presented. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Action items. Approve the bus routes for 2022, 2023.
Okay, so as you know, we talked about the bus routes and approved them as presented at the last meeting. However, we are looking into adding an additional bus route, and we do not have it confirmed or concrete yet, but we've been working with some of our families of students that have special needs, and it looks like we're going to add a special ed bus route. So we will be adding that route to the current bid that is out and that mileage. The only other changes were Larry Woodring's additional mile a day, which we also are getting concrete information on and making sure that Buffy's route with the changes that were made last year has accurate mileage. So I will be on the buses this week, writing those routes to make sure we have exact location for the additional Flynn stop, or the, not additional stop, but change of that stop from the previous, it said Davis stop. Now it's to pick up the Flynn family at that location. So we just need to figure out the exact location of where the bus will be stopping safely to pick up those students on that route. The exact mileage for Larry picking up at the blinking light rather than the previous turnoff, and the special ed bus route. So we will be driving the bus this week to solidify those and make sure we have the exact mileage and run that through the county. And then that will help us move forward on budgeting and our transportation line item for budget.
And now, Susie, we'll need to have, so the special ed bus, is that going to include the 3 children? Or will Larry pick up 2 and then the special ed bus will go out for a 3rd? How did that sort out?
The 2 parents we have talked to so far preferred the special education bus option.
Okay. And then we would only need 1 para to ride this. If we only had the 1 bus for special ed, we only need 1 para to ride it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the bus routes themselves are set. It's just the times that might change a little bit. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the additional route. So we're not ready to confirm that at this time.
So do we want to approve the routes we have presented and we'll add that one, or do you want to?
Can we table it,
table
please?
this one? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We already approved them as presented last time. I just wanted to give you a little bit of update and details, and we don't have the special ed one solidified yet. But it does look like that's going to be the best route to go to get those students to school safely and to help their families.
Okay, so we'll just postpone consideration of that item and move down. Good. Okay. Approve the substitute list then for 2022, 2023.
I'll move to approve the substitute list for 2022, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the substitute list for 2022, 2023. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Approve MTSBA policy maintenance revised contract.
So this is a contract that once we get through our policy work, which we're currently doing with Chris Goss, would go into effect in order for them to annually maintain our policies and keep them up to date on the website. And I know they sent a lengthy explanation about the new system that they're utilizing for that. And I know that was passed on to the board. So I don't know if you have any further questions for me on that or thoughts. One thing I want to do is make sure that obviously we don't start incurring these costs until our policy review is finalized and we are on their system.
Mr. Chairman, move then that we approve the MTSBA policy service agreement for $1,650.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the MTSBA policy service agreement for $1,650. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, hang on, let's see, this is separate from the current service. Okay, we are under, okay, that's fine. Is this 1650, I just came to mind, is this 1650 for like a 6-month subscription, a full year subscription for the service? I just don't remember, so I apologize.
Sean, it's on the invoice.
It's on the invoice.
7122, 633023, but
7-1,
start
yeah.
actually.
So it'll be
We have to-
prorated.
you have to-
Yeah, it'll have to be
You know,
prorated,
so,
okay.
Or the back end of it won't be June 30th, it'll be 12 months from the actual start date.
I suspect because their fiscal year runs July 1st to June 30th, that it'll probably be prorated rather than a change in contract date.
That way they can bill everybody at the same time.
Yeah,
That's what I was hoping for, yeah.
yeah, okay. So it'll be something less than 1650, probably.
Yes.
Okay, all right, great.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Approve the lease agreement with Missy Cox. So that lease agreement is also in your packet.
It's under 3.4 lease agreement. And our portion of their warehouse agreement expires on August 31st, and they're happy to continue renting to us. And then we have the costs associated there. And this is a standard agreement that the district's been in for quite some time.
I'll move to approve the updated lease agreement with Missy Cox as presented.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the updated lease agreement with Missy Cox as presented. Is there any discussion?
If we have more room now, or are we going to see about moving things out of there, or do we even know what's in there?
I think that's a great question, Vanessa. We have quite a bit of storage spread around that we need to go through and make a plan. I think once we get in the new school and get situated, we really need to start figuring out what we need and don't need that we have stored in various places.
Mhm.
Maybe that's part of our strategic planning or just part of my priorities over the next year or so. But yeah, that's something I think we could tackle.
Okay, any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just kind of a point of order. So we're approving the lease, but as part of approving the lease should go with the authorization for Ms. Hedlund to actually execute the lease.
Amend that or just have it noted, I guess?
With our approval, I guess we could amend the motion to say not only does the board approve the lease, but we authorize Mrs. Hedlund to sign the lease on behalf of the district.
I'll second that amendment.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to amend the original motion to allow Mrs. Hedlund the authority to sign and execute the lease. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Were you able to get all that, Christie?
Close enough.
All right. All right, approve 2 days of pay for Gemma Lockery for the Carl Perkins reporting work.
Okay, so one thing that we needed to do was identify all of our students that have taken CTE courses throughout the last school year, as well as any students who are a CTE concentrator. So that means that they take multiple credits in the same area or field. And this impacts our Carl Perkins funding, and we hadn't updated the system in a while. So this is something that Luke and I pulled the transcripts of the students, and we're thinking about how we could go through those transcripts and try to flag them. And then you had to manually enter this information in Infinite Campus under each student's profile. And it would have taken Luke and I quite a while, where Miss Lockery knew all the kids right off, her fingertips in which courses and concentrators they were involved in. So I was very happy when she offered to spend the weekend doing that data entry for us. It probably would have taken Luke and I a week. So I would appreciate it if we could pay her for her time for that weekend of work. And she'd be paid at her daily rate, according to Ms. Sangrame.
I'll move to approve 2 days of pay for Mrs. Lockery for her work on the Carl Perkins reporting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve 2 days of pay for Mrs. Lockery for her work on Carl Perkins reporting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Okay, moving into personnel, we have some resignations.
All right, so definitely heartbreaking. Miss Abra Lewis is going to be leaving us and retiring, so we're sad to see her go. And then we have our custodian, Roger, who's also been great help in the elementary. And so they have resigned, and I asked for the board's approval.
Can I add one more? You had Sarah Tall Whiteman turn in a resignation letter.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there's a Sarah that added, so Sarah Tall Whiteman was added as a resignation under paraprofessional.
Okay.
All right.
How many retirement incentives did we offer this year? Yeah,
We offered 2 and 1 was
Yeah,
taken.
I was gonna ask the same question. It's unfortunate that timing didn't work for her to consider the incentive.
Is that something we should think about now? I mean, or is that appropriate to think about that now?
I will say that she did inquire on if there was any kind of option for her to seek that out, even though it's late. And I did plan on talking to the board about it. We still have quite a bit of paperwork to figure out with Miss Lewis and how things are gonna work on the details of her leaving. So that is one of the things that Christy and I were starting the conversation on. It was last fiscal year that the incentive was offered, and we're now in the new fiscal year, so that causes a bit of complication.
Not only that, but to be fair, if you put it out this soon, you'd probably have to give the option to everyone. So you don't have to.
It would be a tough precedent to follow. I mean, I understand the idea behind it, for sure.
It's something we can do some research on, options, and bring back to the board, though, if that's something that you're interested in. Possibilities or
Yeah, I think
options.
it's kind of a unfortunate situation, and if we could, when you're looking at about 30 years of service there, if we could look at something like that, I think it would be maybe worth taking an exception for.
Okay, I can do the research, and I'm sure Ms. Sangre would assist me in her components of that, and we can figure out what options there might be. Looking on the different fiscal years and how we could make that work.
So I guess my.
No, she was, heartbroken, and her intent was to be back in the classroom. So it was definitely unfortunate.
So my question would be then, do we, just given that further research, should we approve the resignation at this time or not?
I almost think we have to, because from contract purposes.
Yeah, because we have to get
Because
somebody
we won't
else.
have another meeting before
Yeah.
start, well, other than our special, our budget meeting.
But how does that impact then the consideration of any special consideration?
I think it would
I
have,
would think that would impact the incentive consideration, but I would be worried if we didn't accept her resignation, it could impact her retirement and
Okay.
other complications, like allowing us to fill the position.
So just to clarify, there may be a loss of the consideration of any retirement package, but the resignation needs to be accepted. Okay. All right. Well, I move to approve the resignations of Abra Lewis, Roger Seck, and Sarah Tall Whiteman.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the resignations of Abra Lewis, Roger Sheck, and Sarah Tall Whiteman. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Employment.
All right, so you'll see there we're seeking an elementary teacher to fulfill that vacancy. We're still seeking an after-school program coordinator. We are excited about a new custodian. We have offered the position to Michael Heilton and a custodial substitute, Katie Goodman. We are working with the Montana School for Deaf and Blind to find solutions to our vacancy in the interpreter position and possible alternative solutions involving technology or other kinds of services. We haven't had any special education applicants this summer. And so we are looking into various options with that. There's a couple different things we might be able to do to outsource case management. So that'd be the paperwork portion that is really hard on those teachers that have large caseloads, some of those different kinds of options. It's not ideal. And I know that our special ed teachers feel strongly about, having full management of their cases, but we're going to have to do what we have to do to make it work with our caseloads this year. For K-8 music and choir, we were able to hire Olga McNulty, and she interviewed really well. We're excited about her various experience that she'll bring to the school, and look forward to that. She's excited about the performances, and choir is definitely a passion of hers. She's known as an incredible musician, so look forward to having her on the team.
For clarification, is that high school choir? Or
Nope,
just-
that's middle school choir.
Just K-8, okay, I just
Yep.
wanted to make sure. Okay.
Paraprofessional, so the high school band teacher does middle school band, and the elementary teacher does middle school choir, if that makes sense. The paraprofessional, Linda Kent, excited to welcome her back to our school. Kitchen aide, Susan Treester. And for our volleyball coaches, we had very passionate applicants. Kayla Rube for 7th grade and Jeremiah Rube for 8th grade. And it sounds like a lot of you guys know them and they're well known in the athletic world. Substitute teachers, we are excited to get Rebecca Hunt and Grace Flynn. We are advertising for cheer coach right now and also looking for someone to pick up some of the different duties that Melinda used to do in the past. So we've put them out there separately for now, but we're looking at maybe different ways of advertising it or putting it together. I just wanted to see if any of the staff wanted to pick up some of those duties on top of their regular duties, and we have a little bit of interest, but we'll be changing some things up and trying to work on making sure we get those vacancies all filled and do some recruitment before the school year starts.
They would probably need to add it here because they would have a background check. Where's most of this list?
Yeah, that was my same question. If we've already approved the sub list, so.
They would be new, so all of these that carried over would have already had a background check, whereas these ones.
The higher pending the background, okay. All right. Well, given that I move to approve the hires as presented for the 2022-23 school year pending successful background checks as is appropriate.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hires as presented for the 2022-2023 school year pending successful background checks. Is there any discussion?
One follow-up question, Mr. Chairman. Are we any closer to a cheer coach? I saw something in our email about that being maybe on a possibility. There was a prospect or?
Yeah, we have enough students. Last year, the problem was that we didn't have enough student interest. We did have a couple applicants, but we didn't have enough student interest to, we need to have at least 5 students that are wanting to participate. And this year we do have 7 that so far. And then the hope was, if we get a coach hired, that we can at the first assembly, when school starts, get the kids excited about it and let them know that that is an option for them this school year and that kind of thing. So I do believe we have a couple of applicants already.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Policy discussion.
Okay, so the first one we're gonna talk about is dress code. And I did put a couple in here. One is what, so the first one, it says page 17 on the bottom and it's 5.2. And as my notes say there, it's the high school current handbook discussion. It's a little bit out of date. I think everybody agrees we could take another look at it. And then on the back page is just a very basic generic one that Chris Goss sent us. But as we talked about in our policy work session, he said, and when I called to talk to him about these policies that are included, he said that he would really like to have a extensive conversation with us at our policy workshop and help us refine this. But if there's areas, if we want to talk today about kind of what's working or what's not working, we can do that. He also said that some schools do section it out so that you have general school day, dress code, activities, dress code, that kind of thing. So those are options. And I don't know how you want to move forward with this, if you want to kind of go through line by line, or if anybody wants to share areas of concern or things they think need to be added or taken away of our current policy, or things that they possibly liked about the generic one on the back.
I would just like to see the dress code line up with the MHSA standards, I guess, or requirements.
So ensure that our activities dress code aligns with MHSA dress code standards.
No, I think if we're gonna have a dress code, we just need one dress code.
Okay, so alignment.
Yeah, if we're bound to MHSA, then I don't think the students in class need to adhere to something different, I guess.
Okay. Got it. So I can see where we differ on that.
I guess I would ask, so are you saying they can wear their volleyball outfit to class?
I don't, it really bothers me that we have this double standard. And I hate that we're teaching our kids that that's okay.
So
If that's the case, then I think we probably do need to explore the difference of breaking those different categories down, because I think that would, if we do simply want to align them, that would open the door for that in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where Chris was talking about, we could break it out to an activities dress code and then a school dress code, and explicitly put in there that activities dress code, activities clothing cannot be worn during the school day if it doesn't align to the school day dress code or PE.
Or we could change our uniforms to a more conservative option that closer matches our school dress code.
Okay.
It seems in my mind that that's that conversation that we'll have to have as, really a focused conversation around that with Chris and around policies, and he could provide kind of examples. In my mind, it'll probably, that's a great discussion, and probably will, and probably deserves a good share of time to really consider it, given
I
our
agree.
perspectives.
I know there's been some questions about the bandanas. I know some schools got dress coded for that, or some kids got dress coded for that last year that were, trying to wear them in good taste, like head decoration, like cutely in their hair, but it's in here kind of going back to the gang times or other considerations. So that's one that's come up. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones I know of. It's really challenging with the short tops being back in fashion. And so the midriffs is a problem right now. And then obviously we had some problems with some of the politically charged shirts last year. The chains, the spiked accessories were an issue sometimes. And then the pajamas and slippers are ongoing challenge. But I thought some of the wording was pretty good on the generic one on the back too. I think they get across the same points, just a little bit different wording. So I would like to see Chris bring us some examples from some of the other schools our size and kind of in our area and see how they have it broken out and look at different examples. Vanessa, I can also make sure I get us a copy of, which I'm sure you've already looked over. I haven't specifically, I know the athletic director and coaches are well aware, but I could pull the MHSA dress code policies for us to review.
Yeah, theirs is probably more of a uniform policy rather than a dress code, I would imagine.
But as I remember, the uniform policies were from fairly not modest to fairly modest,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So if we followed their policy, that seems like any of the four, I think there were four different attires that they offered. Did I remember that right? 3 or 4?
I think so, yeah,
Yeah,
3 or 4.
I think Chris bringing some guidance would be, and a longer discussion would be really helpful.
And this is also one that I know that the other principals will have good input on. And I think we also need to look at the staff, dress code and expectations. We had some challenges last year. It's hard when you're telling the kids they can't wear a certain thing and then teachers are wearing it, or paras, there are other people. And then also leggings are just constantly, there's all different kinds of leggings out there. And that's something that can be worn distastefully and sometimes. And then, we really need to think, I think, about our expectations for our paraprofessionals. We expect them to dress pretty much like a teacher currently, but they're on the playground for long periods of time at recess with the kids. They're on the ground working with them. They're doing a lot different kind of work, and they're not allowed to wear jeans. But sometimes I think jeans look nicer than some of the athletic type pants or different things that get worn. So I think all of our dress codes could be updated to, I'd like to see like business casual for the paras or something like that. Not necessarily defining this kind of pants or that, but we're having a training with our paras as part of the PIR days and look forward to addressing some of those things. But yeah, I think it's a conversation and area we need to talk about for students and all staff alike.
Okay, this has been a really good conversation. I think I can do this, okay? I would move to table the dress code policy discussion for tonight.
Yeah, we just have it labeled as discussion.
As discussion, okay. So then I don't have to move anything.
Nope.
Okay.
The homeschool activity was the other one for discussion.
Okay, so I attached those policies as well so that we could start that discussion. One of the things I'm excited about is the part-time attendance. We do, for example, have a student that attended one class a day last year and really did well, and it was a great experience for him and as well as us. And so we're excited he's going to attend 2 periods this next school year. That does also help the school district because if they attend 2 courses, then we get a quarter time A and B. So just so you know how that works. So moving forward, if a student takes driver's ed or another course, I think it's great if we can get them to attend 2 courses. And it's nice that they now honor A and B for that. I think when I first started, it was like half or nothing. So now there's quarter A and B for 2 courses. One thing to note is that the full-time student does have priority for the course. So if we have students that need that course for their graduation track or that kind of thing, the full-time students do have priority for those to register or sign up for those courses. So just making a note on that, and then there's some information on that one. On our next, one thing that I thought was interesting on the back page of that policy, page 3 of 3 on 3121, was for purposes of calculating A and B under this section. It defines extracurricular activity, which is one that's come up a lot with some of these policies. So it defines extracurricular as a sport or activity by an organization, activities, contests, and tournaments, or an approved career and technical student organization, or a theater production. So I found that definition interesting because I know there's been a lot of conversation about what that means lately with some of the new policies that have come out. And I am interested to hear how if Chris feels like that's still a working definition with these newer policies that have come out, or if they have a different definition for the policies such as 3510. Does that make any sense?
Yep.
Okay. So on policy 3510, we have our school-sponsored student activities and our extracurricular activities. And so this goes over student organizations, social events, extracurriculars, and it goes on the back page, page 2 of 3 of 3510, number 4, participation in district extracurricular activities by unenrolled children. So it outlines that. And then details about athletic teams. Did anybody have concerns or questions on this policy?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. And is that one in there twice? 3510.
May I ask, what precipitated this discussion? Was there some questions coming into school regarding part-time students?
Yes, so I know there's been some questions about part-time students and then also about our homeschool students and their participation in activities and what defines activities for the homeschool participation.
Okay.
So currently it reads, that's why I was saying I'm interested in hearing what Chris would say, because under 3121, it says sports, clubs, or school theater productions as extracurricular activities. And I'm not sure if that was the intent when MHSA and that legislation was passed, or if that definition has since been changed.
Well, MHSA is not mentioned in the law itself.
Right. And I don't know that they define. it in 3510. So it seems to refer to sports and teams throughout the policy and uniforms.
But it also must refer to, and just probably an obvious question, that's probably a dumb question. Under A, extracurricular activity means under A, sport or activity sanctioned by an organization having jurisdiction over interscholastic activities, contests, and tournaments. That would be speech and drama would be included in that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Drama is an
hospitals-
MHSA.
It is an MHSA, okay.
House Bill 72 also defines extracurricular activities
Okay.
as those three, A, B, and C, that were on the back side of page 3121.
Mr. Chairman, just a question maybe for good of the order. When we had our last policy review with Chris Goss, if memory serves me correct, we made it through the entire 3000 series. And that was the vote. They actually passed on first reading. Am I not correct? So we've already had one reading on those, and I suppose once we get through the first reading of all of them, then the second reading will be the adoption of all of the policies on second reading, adopted after that, so.
That's my understanding.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, we've already, we've had some of that discussion, and maybe these are, if the additional information, has come up now based on some of this review, we can bring that up during the second reading portion of those policy reviews with Chris.
Right, and we also left that knowing that we still had to do the collaborative effect with our student handbooks and making sure that those two things align with one another, which is yet to come.
Yeah.
Okay,
The only thing I see in 3150, could we change the part-time students to like 7 through 12 or 6 through 12? Include middle school in there since they're kind of set up like high school or similarly?
Let's see.
I believe we talked about that specifically.
Yeah, because you're talking about this line.
Yeah, that
The
first.
the first paragraph, last sentence,
Well, yeah, well, the first one says
and the second sentence.
K through 8 will not be accepted for
Yeah.
part-time enrollment.
And then it just continues on through with the same
Is
theme.
that like a state law for A and B, or is it a school's decision?
It looks like it's just our policy.
Because they have like A and B information, I mean, we could probably look through it and see if it's possible.
So one of the things that's kind of interesting about this one is that, okay, students are obviously required to attend, well, anyone under 16 is required to attend full-time, but those students are homeschool students or some other form of students that are attending high school part-time. We do have part-time kindergartners, for example, but that's legal. So I would say that might need to be updated, that paragraph.
Yeah, and this is our old policy, like, we don't have the one that we went through with Chris, and I know we discussed some items, so we've already made some changes that aren't being reflected here.
That's part of my concern with.
I requested them from Chris, but he might have sent us our previous ones rather than our updated ones.
Yeah, just without a revised date on the bottom.
I noticed that too. So, yeah, I think that's a good catch, Vanessa. Is there anything else, before we move on? Obviously it'd be more helpful to have Chris with us, because I don't know if these reflect our updates or not.
I would like to see us open up more of the activities to the homeschoolers. I had a lot of people ask me why my son could play or participate in cross country, but not go to a dance with those same kids. And I couldn't really give them an answer.
Okay.
Except that we were bound by what most people thought was an outdated policy. But
So that would be, I'm guessing, something under social events or another category. Since a dance isn't considered an extracurricular activity, it would maybe need to be considered as an extra section. And then I know the concerns would be to have some parameters on it if that was a direction that the board chose, because the students that do attend the dances have to be in good standing and can't have, behavior issues or be, not passing classes. So the thought is that the guests that come from other schools, their administration signs off on that for them to attend. So I don't know, if that would be the county superintendent then, or how that would work. Or if we do some kind of allowance. This is just my brainstorming, so apologize if I'm rambling. Or if we do some kind of allowance just for like local homeschooling kids. I know in the past there had been some issues with allowing students that came from, wherever without anybody being able to vouch for them. So that's kind of one of the differences that I know was noted, and some of the school districts we're looking into. We can look at how other school districts have modified this policy and if they've allowed for any further activities besides the ones defined by House Bill 72 and Policy 3121, and how they've organized that. And I'm guessing Chris would have that knowledge if some other districts have done that.
Right. I guess I'll be the bad guy for a minute, but, I think in general, the incentive on some of those things is, those things are reserved, or they are incentive for kids that go to school. And, I personally don't agree with what the state law changed, and because of that, but that's irrelevant. It's state law, we have to follow it. But, going to school is, those activities, in my opinion, should have been reserved for kids that go to school in our school system. It's kind of like the same we do with our coaching positions. We offer them in-house to our teachers first. Those people that dedicated, their career to educating children. And that's why we do that first, to choose those people. When we can't find one, then we go outside. But it kind of falls in the whole thing of being part of the public school system. So I have mixed feelings. I mean, I guess some of my feelings are negative, to be honest, but I think that's something we as a district obviously can decide to do or not to do. But I do think we need the full principals and, staff participation on this discussion if those are changes that we're going to make, because it does reflect, why we choose to go to public school, because of some of those activities. So.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of different, different viewpoints on this, and I know that Ms. Hebron she could have been here tonight, so she looks forward to jumping into that conversation later on and can speak to kind of some of the possible challenges. Also, you can speak to how it impacted your family member, Flynn, so I respect that. But I also know some of the students see, like homecoming as a reward for them or those kinds of things. So there's all different points of view. I think it's gonna be one of those things that's hard to make everybody happy on. But if we can have a respectful conversation and find some as close to consensus as possible, or see what we can do, and we can, like I said, I can do the research to find out what other districts have done. And if there's districts I'd be interested to see what our neighboring districts of similar size are doing and if they made any modifications.
Well, I would just like to point out too, there's only one group of kids that we have any influence over in drawing them into, and that is the homeschool group. I think they would feel more welcome if we were welcoming of them, instead of constantly holding them at arm's length. Like she had mentioned, for my son with the kids being able to come in for activities, I thought sports would have been what drew him back to public school, but just being in the school with some of his peers was what was like a light switch, and he was like, okay, that's where I want to be. So and obviously people homeschool for a lot of different reasons, but I think if we could be more welcoming, we might actually bring some of them back to public school. So.
Okay, so I guess we'll continue that discussion with Chris again if we have that opportunity and with the rest of the administration. Okay.
Thank you, and thank you all for your comments.
Okay, the next one is the COVID-19 safe return to school plan and policies.
All right, so usually I really like working on policies, but this one was a little bit frustrating because OPI is requiring that, well, they're required by the feds to make sure that we have an updated safe return to school and community plan on our website. So it's just hard to read through this because so much of it's outdated. So if we start with a safe return to school plan, you will see I already made some changes on the one that's in the packet. A couple more that I caught afterwards was on page 5, the top paragraph needs to be modified because we are no longer doing that level of, well, really any physical distancing. And then the other area on this one and I did put the dates in there, the updated dates, just so you know, and went back through the packet to see when we revised policies and made changes. So those were the main areas that we need to change in this document in general. And then at the back of it, when you get to page 14, we need to put an updated version of our 1905 policy and put a new header for fall of 2022. And then align the following paragraphs to make sure that it matches our new policy 1905. So if you guys will maybe let me continue on with 1905. I have an idea for how we can kind of combine these, or it might make more sense. So I'll keep going. On 1905, I emailed you an even newer version. Just before the meeting, Christina and I were working on continuing to revise it. I was interested in her thoughts, also had reached out to the CDC and others. So the copy that you have in your packet has most of it, but I changed a few more things. So we are taking out physical distancing. Well, let me start at the top. We're still saying we're gonna, follow the 1900 policies to keep our school healthy. Then we're talking about symptoms of illness. We're still asking that staff and students do not come to school sick. And this is on 5.4 in your packet, policy 1905. So we're gonna, continue that. That's good practice anyways. Physical distancing. I would like to remove our physical distancing or strike that section. A lot of it we had already stricken when we updated this late winter, but there was a little bit of it left that is highlighted there that I'd like to remove. We're no longer trying to keep classes separate. So I'd like to remove that section under physically distancing. That means everything will be stricken in the physical distancing section. Under optional face coverings in buildings and specific circumstances, required face coverings for specific schools and groups. We would leave the top paragraph about, you know, the Constitution and all of that. Then we would only keep the first line of this that says the school district requires all staff, volunteers, visitors, and students in classrooms that have had recent confirmed positive cases to wear a mask regardless of COVID-19 vaccination status as recommended by current CDC guidelines. So that would take out that line that says 10 days and anything about our county. It just says requires them to wear masks as currently recommended by CDC guidelines, which right now is 5 days of isolation and 5 days of mask wearing. But it depends on your circumstances. So I would like to leave it general, because if you go on the CDC website or work with a health professional, that can change based on your personal situation, your date of exposure, and all those different things. So rather than get into the weeds, I think we just say as recommended by the current CDC guidelines.
I have one question in that first sentence. It says, people in classrooms that have recent confirmed positive cases. How does that work? If you're in a classroom and there's one person who's tested positive, but they're in the hallways, I mean, do you just wear that mask in that classroom and take it off when you go out in the hallway, or how is that?
No, they would need to wear their mask.
Practically?
Yeah. So we can change that to a more general term where it says classrooms, like on premises. On school. Yep. And then we would keep close contacts are required to go home immediately at the onset of any symptoms. But we are no longer contact tracing, if you guys approve. So then this business of 10 days for quarantine and all of that would be removed. We can keep the details if you think, Kevin, that part kind of 1 through 7 kind of goes back to your question of when do they need to wear masks or not, if you want to keep that section.
No, I don't.
No, I already crossed it out.
Okay, because I was planning on crossing it out.
Something at the
Yeah.
discretion of the student, maybe, or the student or their parents at their discretion can wear if they feel that's necessary, but no, I don't think there should be any requirement there. It doesn't make sense to do that.
Okay. And then, yeah, so the only part on this page that we kept in yellow, I believe, is the sentence that I changed it a little bit to say that if, so not anything to do with close contacts, but there is a sentence that says if a student, you know, is positive for COVID and supposed to be wearing a mask and doesn't have a health provision, the parent refuses to have them wear the mask when the CDC says they're supposed to, in accordance with policy 2050, regardless of vaccination status, they will be put on remote learning. So still the same thing that, like, you know, if they test positive, they can't just come to school tomorrow or, you know, without a mask or anything. They would be put on remote learning if we were notified by the health department that they had a positive test. That's line number 5. line numbers 4 and 5 on that page. So just saying that, you know, if we know they have COVID, they have to adhere to the CDC guidelines, or they could be put on remote instruction. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know if it makes sense, but I understand what you're saying.
So then the bottom of that page we would keep because it just says that we won't discriminate or allow harassment of people wearing masks. The next section is just talking about cleaning. We're still gonna keep cleaning the school and the bus, and we're still gonna keep using our upgraded filters and our 60% alcohol hand sanitizer, and temperature screen students who are sick as needed. Gonna keep washing our hands, that's always good. We'll still adhere to the vulnerable individuals, so we'll continue to work with our staff and students that are not able to come to school because of potential risk. We will keep being clean in the cafeteria, on the bus. We will continue to have public awareness, respect confidentiality, and we remain the right to transfer funds if we do end up in a crisis. Any questions?
I think we're good.
Okay, the other policies attached were just for your information because they were referenced throughout the safe return plan and 1905. But we don't need to go over those unless anybody has any specific questions. So I would ask the board to approve the safe return plan as amended, like I said, page 5 and 14, and policy 1905 as amended.
Mrs. Hedlund, question. On page, all the way back on page 1 of the continuity plan, it talks about the date of original adoption being June of 2020, date of last revision be today. The next regularly scheduled month for consideration, what would you recommend instead of a year ago?
That's a good question. I guess
Should we-
I will ask OPI when I am required to do it again. I forget if they said we have to update it every 6 months or what they said. There is a rule. I will
okay.
look at it.
For some reason, I thought it was quarterly, but,
That's what I was thinking. It was either 3 months or 6 months.
okay. So.
But, I did
we
look it
can
up.
Take
I
that
did look-
out and just leave that open at this time. Can we
Yeah.
not?
I did look at a lot of other districts' websites, and they were in the same shape as us, so we are now all updating these. And I did talk to Chris Goss, and he's gonna work with us a little bit more on some of them. Some districts are starting to terminate some of the policies as well. But one of the questions that I know, or, you know, conversations Jason and I had was, we thought that, you know, these were linked to ESSER funding, so not sure how all that works, but we can talk more with Chris Goss about that. But if you guys approve this, I will do another read through of it and clean it up and get it linked. Ask Joan Luke to help me get it on the website, and we will have that updated 1905 for school opening.
Are you thinking of having the kind of a highlighted, interlined version up to show what changes are made, or are you just planning on putting up what it looks like after removal and the insertion of the new text?
I can leave it highlighted in black. So the highlight is what's new since the last time we changed it. And the stricken is the last time we changed it. So if you like to see the different levels of change, we can leave it that way.
It might be helpful. I know we do that in my world with policy manual changes and things like that is having, in the new text that you have highlighted, if that were to be, if you could underline that, like we would with administrative rules, where new text is underlined, text being removed is stricken, then, having something that people can look at to see what those changes are, and maybe leave that up for a brief amount of time, and then, show the kind of the clean version of it, or both, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Another way of doing it would maybe to put the February version up and then the August version.
Something like that, yeah, I think it might be a little bit more helpful to show, the progression of where things are at right now and all that. I mean, sometimes just cutting a document from 7 pages to 3 pages doesn't necessarily convey all of the changes that are being made, so.
Right.
And I would agree, the conversation is somewhat nebulous. I'm not really sure what's where, actually, and what's being changed and what's not. So something a little more concrete would be helpful, so a person knows what they're actually voting on. And I tried to get that, but I wasn't able to, so.
Thank you, I appreciate that, and if, we can be of any help, let me know.
Yeah, it was strange because that document was so outdated in general. And a lot of the policies it references we never adopted. That's quite interesting. So that's why I tried to include everything for you guys. But bottom line, we just, I want to make sure we get it on the website so we're in compliance. But I do think having the current 1905 policy for families is important, especially with all the new families we have. So I will get them cleaned up and posted if you approve them.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the updated COVID-19 safe return to school plan and updated 1900 policy.
1905 policy as amended, please.
1905 as amended.
No second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the updated COVID-19 safe return to school plan and the 1905 policies as amended. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Very good. Superintendent report.
And that's why you guys had such a nice, lovely packet, because I put all those policies in there for you. So freaked everyone out that we're going to have an intense meeting tonight. All right, so superintendent report, and I'm going to ask Christina to chime in with me since she took her evening to join us as well. I wanted to note, and I know Christina's been getting a lot of questions and comments about the ribbon cutting ceremony and kind of how the new building opening's going to go. So we did let staff know that, is it tomorrow or the next day they get to start being in their classrooms? Thursday. Teachers can start working in their classrooms Thursday. However, it's very strict that they don't bring any friends, family, children with them because it's still a construction zone. But they are able to get in their classrooms and start looking at what they have for furniture and unboxing some things. So they were all very excited about that news. And I need to update the middle school. Some of their classrooms are accessible and some aren't. So I'm working hard to stay on top of communications with the librarians, the middle school teachers, the coaches regarding the gyms and HVAC projects, and the elementary teachers on their new building. The ribbon cutting ceremony will have to be in early September because we cannot have the community in there. We will be able to have our students in there, just right when school starts. And do you want to talk about the open house
For
the elementary?
Oh, yeah, so we have our ice cream social on August 29th from 5:30 to 6:30. And then I know there's a freshman orientation following that for 6:30 to 7:30. So it was posted like an open house. We had confusion there, so we did change it to ice cream social, and we'll label the ribbon cutting and open house later for when we do that.
that'll allow the kids to meet their teachers and kind of get to see the school before school starts, so.
Put all their stuff away since they've got in the backpack.
Yeah, and they'll get to see, find their locker and all of that fun stuff. We had a kindergartner last year come off the bus and, dragging the school supplies across the grass. It was so cute. But so we're trying to avoid that and give the kids, also we think it helps with anxiety, they get to see their classroom and meet their teacher the night before they come instead of that morning. So that'll be neat. So the next thing we have here is an update on registration and class numbers. So there's also in the back of your packet, it's the second to last page, might be helpful. I printed out the rules for Montana on class sizes for you. It has Christy Jacobson's label there on the top. So Christina will talk to you about the latest and greatest staff numbers and our plans for those classrooms.
So currently, as of today, we have 68 kindergartners. I know we originally had thought we had already hit over 70, but there were some names duplicated from the original roundup to the new one in the fall. So we are at 68 kindergartners, 64 first graders, 48 second graders, 62 third graders, 48 fourth graders, and 60 fifth graders. So with our numbers in fifth grade, we are capped at 2 classrooms. And in fourth grade, I know we still have some room there, just with the number of kids we're seeing on a daily basis registering. We don't have that much space. I know there's also been really, big concerns of those big numbers in the fifth grade, which is why we'd wanted that additional teacher, which will really help give those teachers, the students especially, the opportunity to actually work with the teacher and get more of the one-on-one that they do need. So we can shrink down those class sizes.
Yeah, I know that was a really challenging number for the teachers last year and super stressful. So
we still haven't made a decision on the new kindergarten first grade teacher because we're still watching these numbers. By the end of this week, we will though, because we are going to start giving parents, next Monday, parents can stop by and get their students' classroom teacher's name. So we'll have that decision made by the end of the week.
And hopefully we'll have another fifth grade teacher soon. And
Same with that
same
one
with the
too.
fourth, fifth combo, that's still up in the air, but it's looking more like it'll be 2 fourth grades and 3 fifth grades.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Okay, I think I've already covered our staffing report when we were talking about hires. So I think I can skip over that one. And then what we're super excited to talk about right now is that we're both at the School Safety Summit. And so it's been really helpful. It was, part of the grant that we wrote was attendance for us to come here. And we have had a great day here. We've gotten to get to know our new elementary school counselor, Madison. She's here with us. She's at the evening event that we skipped to be at the board meeting with you virtually. So the goal really for me was to figure out what direction we were going to take and what resources we need, or, kind of what our roadmap was for moving forward. I think we discovered some issues last year and some areas we wanted to improve on. So that was one of my goals. I know Christina's was a little bit different with her position for next year.
Especially with the new school, trying to figure out what is the best way for us to, make sure that all of our students are safe on their way to and from school as well. Looking at, I know change is always difficult, but how can we improve that? How can we make it better for our kids? One of the things that I think will be really helpful is that we change Second Street, so we don't have 4 lanes of traffic for those kids now. So I know that'll be helpful, but also, all those kids that are walking, there's a lot of traffic that we're dealing with out there. And I know we talked to one organization that can help us with that, that actually can walk us through that and say, okay, here's some areas you need to change, or what, what we can do to make it safer for those kids.
So we got to work with and learn about some of the different programs and opportunities out there. A lot of them are nonprofits and offer their services free to the schools. So what we identified that we need to get done is, first of all, a risk assessment and assessment of our, especially with our new facility. So what they do is come in and figure out our areas that we need to have a plan for. And then we move forward with our planning, our crisis and prevention planning, safety planning, which is comprehensive of disasters, buses, all of that, comprehensive planning. And then we would move forward with our training and our drills. So we got to hear from a panel of law enforcement and SROs, and we got the latest and greatest kind of updates and information from them. So the current, for example, there for quite a few years, it's been like, you lock down or do you flee? You lock down or do you flee? And they definitely said that you flee if possible, which they called it avoid.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second D was,
I knew you were gonna ask.
I'm looking at you, there's an acronym, but it's avoid, deny, so that's lockdown, deny access, and then it's defend. So defend yourself. So fight back. So you're supposed to flee if you can, if the shooter's not in your part of the building, for example. Lock down, defend, or deny if you are in the danger zone, and then to defend, to fight back. And so there's some training that they've been doing here. We got to go see one of the new safe buildings here, remodels and safety upgrades, and kind of walk through some of those safety plans at a school here in Butte. So that was really beneficial to kind of see it in person. So then we also learned a lot about mental health awareness, and we went to different breakout sessions already today, on different topics, social emotional learning, suicide prevention, all those different components. So it's been really great, and I think we have some resources now so we can move forward with our safety planning. So appreciate you letting us attend virtually, because we didn't want to spend all night traveling. So, but definitely wanted to participate in the board meeting. A couple other things we already talked about, PIR days. Just a reminder that the tech days are August 18th and 23rd. We'll hold those in the high school if the elementary isn't prepared for that. Literacy days are August 15th through 17th. Different grade levels go on different days to learn about their new reading curriculums, and that'll also be done in the high school if necessary. And then our regular PIR days are August 25th and 29th, and the agenda's on the back of your packet. We do have some safety plan review time on there, and we do have an orientation for new staff. We have para training and some different components. Christina did a lot of work on that. Do you have anything to add?
Just the schedule you have on the back's been updated since then. We also have printer training on Monday
For the new printers.
for the new printers. So I think that's the only other thing that's not on there.
All right, I think that is about it. We will be here, and we get done on Wednesday night around 4:30. So give me a call if you need anything. And also, I just wanted to say thanks to Mrs. Marks for being there. And I am also happy to visit at any time. Apologize. I know that Nancy stopped by and I was not there. So, but my cell phone number's up on the door, 406-465-3531. And you are always welcome to email or call me And I'm happy to visit about anything going on at the school.
She laughed already.
Oh,
Let's do it for the recording.
She's probably watching the
she
video.
missed all the details on the important stuff.
Anyway, Susie, the only thing I want to add, I know you and I and Christina talked about it last week at the OAC meeting, but we need to start kicking out information on that flow of traffic and how that changes because of that, just so people start seeing that, either social media, in the paper, all that, so people get a little bit aware before the first day of school.
So that was one of the things that I plan on getting done, Jason, because I've had a few people asking like drop off and everything. And now that we have some of those answers, we should be able to start putting that out there.
Okay, sounds good.
And I did, Christina and I did apologize, we didn't get on the Zoom with you guys for the construction meeting, but we did have a call with Rich and Shane in between meetings here. So we did ask them some questions that we had from staff and those kinds of things. And then they said they didn't have any questions for us. So we tried to get up to speed on that as well.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, budget